Welcome to Business Unleashed, a Plano Chamber podcast. In today's episode, we dive into Leadership Plano, the flagship program of the Plano Chamber of Commerce. Join us as we sit down with Carole Greisdorf, Leadership Plano Program Director, Sharon Bradley, Class 39 graduate and the Director of Family and Social Services for PISD, and Jarvis Archibald, Vice President at Children's Health and Class 38 graduate. Let's get into today's episode.
Welcome back to the Business Unleashed, a Plano Chamber podcast. In this episode, we're diving into the heart of our leadership development programs with a special focus on Leadership Plano. Leadership Plano is our flagship program, and here to join us today, we have a great group of guests. But I would love for you all to introduce yourselves so our listeners, if they're not watching us, can put a face to the voice. And Carole, how about we start with you?
Sure. Hello, everyone. I'm Carole Greisdorf. I'm the Program Director for Leadership Plano. I've been doing this for several years and love working with Leadership Plano.
Thanks.
Hi, my name is Sharon Bradley. I'm Director of Family and Social Services in Plano ISD, and I'm also a Leadership Plano board member. So excited to be here to join this conversation today.
Hello, and thank you for having me. My name is Jarvis Archibald, and I am the Vice President of Strategic Outreach and Provider Relations for Children's Health. I have been participating in one way or another with Leadership Plano for the last 3 years. I'm a proud member of a Leadership Plano Class 38, and I am also an advisory board member.
Well, thank you all. So as you guys can tell, we have a great group with us today. To kick us off, I would love to start with Ms. Carole. If you can provide our listeners with an overview of the Leadership Plano program and its mission.
Well, the mission of Leadership Plano is to educate, develop, and empower current and future leaders for the community and motivate them to serve civic, charitable, and business organizations. The program begins in September with a mandatory overnight retreat. We go away and we get to know each other. We participate in accessible activities. We focus on learning about our individual strengths and how they can be used to strengthen our leadership ability both in the workplace, in organizations, and at home. And then throughout the rest of the year, once a month, generally on Thursdays, it's usually the third Thursday of the month, but occasionally the second, we meet from 8 to 5 and cover all aspects of the city of Plano, from government to education to healthcare to public safety and more.
Yes, as a current soon-to-be graduate of the program, I can attest to all of what Carole has shared. It's been an amazing experience. But Sharon, as you are an official graduate of Leadership Plano, could you share with our listeners some of the most impactful moments and lessons that you gained from being a part of this program?
Yes, to be very honest, the entire Leadership Plano experience transformed my life in more ways that I can count. And to kind of piggyback on Carole's reference to the retreat, by far, I believe that was the most impactful experience for me, because I came into the program with some deep-seated fears, even some imposter syndrome, and to receive support and encouragement from people I didn't even know. And now they're like lifelong friends. And they saw things within me that I didn't see myself, but they took it a step further. They provided opportunities for me to utilize those strengths that they uncovered for the good of the Plano community. So I know Jarvis made reference to his class, but I am a proud member of Class 39, and I couldn't be more grateful.
Awesome. Thank you, Sharon. And Jarvis, so you mentioned, so you're a graduate of Class 38. When you think back to when you applied or maybe were tapped to apply, what motivated you to participate in the program, and maybe what were some of your expectations going into it?
Yeah. Well, if I'm being totally honest, which I am here, when I was approached by our community relations director about the program, I looked into it and I was curious for selfish reasons. I really wanted the opportunity to dive in and look at the potential impact that a pediatric hospital that we have in Plano has on the community and what the potential impact would be, through my building of relationships and being able to leverage those relationships. But after I got in, I realized it was so much more. It develops quickly into lifelong friendships with folks that stretch across the community, from nonprofit to corporate executives to you name it, everything in between. There's that my team works directly with community pediatricians and caregivers, and those um, individuals that are working in Plano and that live in Plano, we're taking care of their kids as a system. So I felt like it was my job as a leader to really dive in and get a better idea of the inner workings of the city of Plano and the people who make the city go. And as far as expectations, I really didn't have any because I didn't know what to expect. And all of those expectations went out the window as soon as I stepped on the bus that Saturday morning. Not to give too much away, but we get to know each other during that bus ride to the retreat. And you get an opportunity to really see the personalities come out in the different individuals, the type of work that they do. And by the time we get off of that bus and step foot on the retreat grounds, you really get a good idea of the type of weekend that it's going to be, just because there are so many different personalities and so many different types of backgrounds coming together. So I didn't have any expectations, but the ones that I did have, the experience far exceeded them.
Yes. And I think I can personally attest to my class joke at like a recent hangout that we were all very apprehensive about the weekend to spend it with essentially a bunch of strangers. But you're right. It wound up being our favorite part and started the year off perfectly. So thank you for sharing that. So Carole, a question for
Absolutely.
you. So how do you think, Carole, the program aims to do essentially what Jarvis mentioned, right? Like educate and develop, but also empower maybe their current leaders in the community, as Jarvis and Sharon are, or maybe their future leaders in the community?
I would say perhaps the most important aspect of educating future leaders is their exposure to current leaders. When you meet with the city manager, with the mayor, with the superintendent of schools, with the CEOs of corporations in Plano, they model behavior and they discuss the leadership traits that are necessary to do their jobs. So that is one example of how we educate. Also, we do bring in facilitators who are experts on leadership and to present on various ways to strengthen your leadership skills. Through the class and the experience of the class, you are exposed to people who have run for office, people who are leaders of nonprofit organizations, people who volunteer. And you also hear from the nonprofit organizations themselves as to what their missions and objectives are, so that you can find out where your passions and values lie and start on the path to the next step in your leadership journey.
Thank you, Carole. And I think that, again, is a great timing and a reminder, I think, to my class is we just finished our last session to figure out, what are your next steps? Because it doesn't really end at your last class day at graduation. So Jarvis, thinking of that and thinking again of the role that you have at Children's, how would you say that your experience at Leadership Plano has contributed to your personal growth and just the leadership journey you continue to be on?
Yeah, good question. I think at the core, I feel more knowledgeable about the community that I live next to and work in. I live in a neighboring city, which I won't say the name, but my family physician is in Plano. We frequent restaurants in Plano. I work in Plano, so I do feel like I am personally a part of the community, not just professionally, as well. You know, making life better for children is our mission at Children's. And through LP, I've been fortunate enough to interact with a lot of the different folks that Carole mentioned from that stretch across the city of Plano in every aspect. I think one of the things that has made me a better leader since joining this is I get to hear firsthand the experiences that community members have had with the hospital, whether it is their kids being sick, whether it's family members frequenting the hospital, and the type of care that they had. On another note, I also get the opportunity to hear things that we can do better that I can take directly back to our system. I think when we go through this process, we become very close to each other. We are able to speak openly with each other, and we can provide feedback to each other, and that's been helpful for me to hear the good, but also to hear the opportunities that we can do better. And I've been able to take that back to some of our leadership team here at Children's and try to improve on how we are providing care for the Plano community. And one more thing I'd like to mention is I go back to that retreat. One of the things that happens initially when you get to the retreat is you're asked to step outside of yourself, maybe even be a little uncomfortable. I know it was for me, and you're asked to put your trust in other people that you're just now getting to know on that day. And for a 6'5" guy like myself, having to um, rely on on folks that are much smaller than me to carry me through a a an object that I probably would not have tried to get through on my own or would not have been able to get through on my own. You learn very quickly that in order to get through this experience, you're going to have to rely on others in order and learn from others. And so I think taking that back to my job as a leader, I think we learn really quickly that leadership is not a solo journey, that you're only as good as your team, and you have to lean on them and rely on them in order to meet whatever objectives it is that you're trying to meet.
I would agree. I think you also handled describing that without giving anything away so very beautifully. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Thank you for
Thank
sharing
you.
that. Thank you for sharing that. So Carole, to go back to you, and you've been a part of Leadership Plano for some years on and off, but what do you think really sets Leadership Plano apart from some of those other leadership development programs, either here locally, statewide, nationally? I know you've had your hands in some different groups. Would love to know your perspective on that.
Well, I think what I would say is that when I hear from people who are involved in leadership training programs, whether it's at the corporate level, in nonprofits or civic organizations, they tell me over and over, this is the best program I have ever been through. Mm. And these are experienced leaders. I don't know what goes on in every one of the other leadership programs per city, like Leadership Frisco or Leadership Allen. I do know that many of them have come to us and asked for our curriculum, have talked to us about how we deliver our program. I think that what makes us unique, I mean, many leadership programs are terrific and I applaud them, of the training that we give in terms of it's both breadth and depth and how the issues that are facing the community. I would say the other thing that I think is very special about Leadership Plano is that the class members are asked to do a project that leaves a significant legacy on the community. And it is an opportunity for the class members to work together as a team to use the strengths that they learned about at the retreat in putting together successfully a project. And this year's class, which was quite large for our program, divided into two groups. They did a project that ended up creating a fabulous family resource center at Head Start, a program of Plano ISD for very, very young kids. And they also helped with the transition of a program called Bed Start to help families who are starting off with nothing and moving into a new place to live, with bedding, with furniture, with those tools that they might need to live successfully. So I think that's a unique part of our program.
Have you ever wanted to make a difference in your community? Now's your chance to join Leadership Plano, the premier leadership development program dedicated to empowering leaders for the future. Applications are now open for Class 41 of Leadership Plano, a 40-year-old signature program designed to educate, develop, and empower individuals to serve civic, charitable, and business organizations. Spanning 9 months from September through May, Leadership Plano offers a comprehensive curriculum that enhances both individual and community leadership skills. Don't miss this opportunity to gain valuable insights, build lasting relationships, and make a positive impact in Plano. Register today at leadershipplano.org. Applications are now open through June 15th at 11:59 p.m. Seize the opportunity to become a leader in your community with Leadership Plano.
Thank you, Carole, for sharing that. And speaking of projects and outside of class projects, Sharon, can you discuss any specific projects or maybe initiatives you've been involved with since completing the program?
As you possibly know, been an educator for over 23 years. So it's easy to kind of get caught in your bubble and just think that you can only contribute to your community in your industry. Well, since being a part of Leadership Plano, I've had the opportunity to collaborate with so many other leaders in different industries and to be able to support efforts across the board. I think the program gave me permission and the confidence to be able to use the skill set that I was able to grow within the program in order to focus, as I said, on the greater good, to be able to continue to contribute to the excellence of Plano.
Thank you, Sharon, for sharing that and your experiences thus far since graduating. Looking at, the next class, the application's already open. Spoiler alert, the applications have been open since about February. So when you look back again, we've talked about your experience and how it's affected you personally and professionally. What advice would you give those individuals that are considering applying for Leadership Plano now?
Do not hesitate. Invest in yourself. Invest in your personal and professional growth. Lean into your strengths. I feel like sometimes we want to be other people or feel like we have to be other people in order to truly be accepted and contribute. But figure out what truly makes you you, and then take it a step further as to how you can use the strengths that you have in order to make a lasting and positive impact on the Plano community.
I love that. That is the biggest takeaway. Don't hesitate. The worst thing that will happen is maybe this is just not your year. So Carole, do you mind walking our listeners through what is the application process to be a part of Leadership Plano Class 41?
Thanks so much, Heather. As you said, applications are online. You can get to them either through www.leadershipplano.org or go to planochamber.org and click on programs. First of all, take yourself all the way through the page. Learn about Leadership Plano. Go through the frequently asked questions, because a lot of your questions will be answered right there. Then click on the application form, create your username and password, and go through the entire application. Take a look at the whole thing so you have it in your mind what's going to be asked for. The most important guidance I can give to anybody applying is take it seriously. Be thoughtful in your answers to the essay questions. The selection committee that is headed by Jarvis, looks very carefully at the applications. They read them very thoroughly, and they have a rubric by which they grade the applications. You can save your application, think about it, and go back to it. There is an application fee. You must click that button at the end before you submit. The other information I'd give you is that you require 2 recommendations. You do not go into the recommendation form is also listed on our website. You do not click, or the applicant does not click on the recommendation form, but rather sends the link to the page where the recommendation form is. Your application is not considered complete until everything is there, your 2 recommendation forms and your application. Let me add one more thing. Get it in early. Our office, my office, along with my colleague Namrata Sood, we go through all those applications when they come in. If you're missing something and we have time, we'll notify you. If you get your application in the last day, it's unlikely that we will be able to notify you. The absolute deadline for your application and your recommendation forms is June 15th at 11:59 p.m.
And Carole, if they try to call you the next day and ask if they can turn in their application, the answer is no.
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 We are not joking about the deadlines.
That's a
Thank
double
you,
no.
Carole. It's a double no from Jarvis as well. That is great feedback. Great feedback. And I think as someone that, before I even started my role at the chamber years ago, started an application for Leadership Plano and did not read all the way through it, and then kind of just assumed I wasn't a fit for it. So I just didn't finish it. So again, to Carole and to Sharon's point, don't count yourself out, but also don't wait until the very last minute so you don't set yourself up for I would say failure, but just not to set yourself up to be disappointed. So Jarvis, we'd love to end it then with you. So as Carole mentioned, you're a part of that selection committee. So what criteria are considered by the selection committee during that process? And maybe what qualities do you look for in potential participants of the program?
Yeah, good final question. I think first and foremost, the application process that Sharon and Carole mentioned is the most important part of the process in terms of getting accepted into the program. In terms of what we're looking for a group of folks that represent the city of Plano and everything that means. So we're looking for a diverse group of folks across all different segments of the city of Plano to be represented in Leadership Plano. We're looking for volunteer leadership roles in the community, whether that's civic, service, social, religious, or other organizations. Someone who expresses a genuine interest in learning more and getting involved in their community. We do have a requirement that you live or work in Plano or within Plano ISD boundaries. Is a member or your employer is a member of the Chamber of Commerce. So that's also a requirement, something that we're looking for. Someone who expresses an interest in using their learnings from Leadership Plano to make the city better, to go out after the experience and actually be an added benefit or leverage the learnings from Leadership Plano as an added benefit to the community in whatever their role is in working or serving in the community. It's important to display a passion about for working with others and wanting to make the city better during the process and after the process. We also are looking at community volunteers who wish to learn more about the city that they volunteer in and strengthen their leadership skills. And I would say for me personally, someone who displays a passion for working with others. You learn quickly through this process and all the sessions and Carole's leadership that you will work closely with others, whether it's through a project, whether it's through small group communication, working outside of the class in order to get things done. So you have to really be willing to step up and work alongside of others. Also, a fire to make the city of Plano a better place to live, not just for right now, but for future generations. And probably most importantly, because we have so many different personalities and people coming together, is open-minded to other people's opinion. So if you have a way to express that through your application process in terms of how you've worked alongside, who you've worked with in the community, that would really go a long way, because it's important that we are willing and open to learning from each other and building those strong foundations for future relationships.
That's very well said. The biggest takeaway was the open-mindedness, because again, whether you work in a very big company or a small team, you all don't think the same, you all don't act the same. So how does that play into your leadership and development? So thank you. That was super helpful. Great tips, Jarvis. I want to thank all of our guests. So Carole, Sharon, and Jarvis, again, thank you for joining us. Thank you for this discussion on Leadership Plano. We hope our listeners gain some valuable insights into the program, its impact on leadership development and community engagement. So again, don't miss an opportunity to apply. Don't count yourself out for Class 41. Applications are officially and have been open, and they again are due on June 15th at 11:59 p.m. So be sure to visit leadershipplano.org for more information. We'll provide some links in our show notes, and be sure to reach out to any of us that you see or hear. I'm sure would love to tell you more about their experience. So thanks for listening.
And that concludes another exciting episode of Business Unleashed, a Plano Chamber podcast. We hope you enjoyed our exploration of Leadership Plano and gained valuable insights into its impact on leadership development and community engagement. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite platform to stay updated on future episodes. Thank you so much for tuning in. And remember, the journey to becoming a future leader in the community starts with taking the first step. We'll catch you next time on Business Unleashed.